Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. Chris and I are back as we fear the Reaper with Final Destination 3, directed by James Wong. Released in 2006, we follow Wendy Christensen and a group of teens who escape a fatal roller coaster crash and face a bloody date with death. This movie was made in a budget of $25 million and brought in $118.9 million at the box office. So,
That's
all being
huge.
said and done, not a bad little effort.
Yeah, that's approaching 5 times the budget. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
No wonder
where
they keep making these.
where movies that I lose 5 times the budget.
Yeah, yeah. I'm surprised it's not more, right? Because this is 2006, and you feel like if a movie makes 5 times the budget, I'm surprised they didn't spit out like 7 in the next 10 years.
I suppose we'll see what happens. Obviously, there's 2 more to go.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll see whether they tanked or not, or carried on the same. It's movie. I've given up trying to discern the logic of movie studios.
yeah,
If something's doing well, they'll can it. If it's absolutely crap, they'll make 20 of them. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? It's hard.
Well, what?
There's something our buddy Shay was talking about there recently. They've cancelled the new Toxic Avenger movie
Oh,
with
I
Peter
didn't hear
Dinklage.
that. Wasn't it all filmed and everything?
Yeah, it was filmed and all,
It
and
was.
then they said it was unacceptable or unwatchable or something, and then he got on the news article. I haven't seen it. I just saw his video and was talking about it. So because we were
I
going
mean,
to review it together, the new one, the
yeah.
reboot, remake, rehash, whatever the hell it was. I wasn't looking forward to it, but it was going to be more of a post mortem, dissecting the movie.
Oh,
But,
that's disappointing. I mean, if
so
I
that's
feel like
understand.
if you've already gone through the trouble of making the thing, just release it. I mean, you spent the money's already spent, you
But
know?
then they can take it off as a tax write-off. But then that's what I mean. You
Yeah.
cannot get the logic of movie studios. They make no sense.
Yeah.
They'll can something, or it could be simply internal politics. Some agent of a producer wants to exert their authority, so they will derail a project because they want to get revenge on somebody who annoyed them 10 years ago. It's all weird, and it's not actually about making the best product or
Yeah.
engaging the audience. It's all about their silly little games, and somehow a movie gets pumped out every now and again, and it's more by luck than anything else. When
Yeah.
Cameron Adam and I covered the Clive Barker series of movies, like when we went into the shenanigans behind the scenes, how any movies get made is beyond me. Like, it's a miracle.
Yeah. I feel like they need to change the tax laws or do something. I feel like if something was made, the time was put into it, all the salaries are made. Like there has to be like an affordable way of just releasing it, to the fans. That has to be whatever money it makes. If it makes $20, there has to be some benefit versus not showing it at all. And I understand with the tax write-offs that is not the case, but they have to change that because you gotta.
Something's not right about it, the whole setup.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
It's counterintuitive.
and like you say, you might find with, like, this is a sort of movie. This is an example. This third one we're getting into
Mhm.
is an example of how this can carry on forever. Because all you need is a new group of teens, make a tenuous link back to, don't have to do all that like the second one, the everything's connected to everything, where it starts hurting your brain. There's only so far you can go with that before it, folds in on itself.
Yeah, but what I like, and we'll get into the specifics. I like that they've added something to each one. Like they've changed up the formula just slightly. Like in the second one, it was that wrinkle of new life would supersede this disaster that they're in. If they could somehow get new life that wouldn't have existed, then that subverts Death's plan. That was the theory. And in this one, the whole angle with the photographs. So like they've added a little bit of a twist where it's the same canon, it's the same formula, which you don't want to get too far away from what
Yeah,
got you. But they've added a little bit of a difference to make it where it's not repetitive, and I
yeah,
like that.
they're people trying to figure it out,
Yeah,
and they may not necessarily be right, and that's cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't like and this was a trope of the times, if you remember. Everything had to be super meta,
mm,
almost breaking the fourth wall and over explaining everything. And it was a bloody horrible trope and I blame, what do you call him? Kevin Smith and all them sort of movies. You know what I mean? They were all that sort of time, late 90s, early 2000s. And it become more of a just people just monologuing on camera as opposed to actually making a movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I really don't enjoy the 2000s in terms of movie making. Like, it's my least popular era.
I was surprised that you said that because I feel like at least those movies didn't have like a political or messaging.
Oh,
That was
today's thing is just
yeah,
completely just unwatchable shite. You know,
yeah. So
the
I was
odd
gonna say
movie might sneak through, but
I'll take the 2000s movies over today's movies.
well, today aren't even movies. And but
Yeah,
this is the trajectory it was going. You know, this
yeah,
sort of navel gazing, beard stroking, let's sit and monologue at the camera, and now it's become let's preach at the camera, and it's just like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
storytelling is forgotten. At least this one, there's still that balance, I think, of we need to entertain people.
Yes,
At least
yes.
this movie tries, which I was entertained. I think that's my favorite one of the franchise, but that's only because I haven't seen or don't remember 4 and 5 at all.
Yeah, I
So
definitely.
I can't 100% say, but so far this is my favorite one of the three.
Yeah, I I have a tough time. I think I like the two because I thought the logging the log truck logger, that whole car crash scene to me was, I felt like, more impactful than the roller coaster scene. Although Shay in the comments is saying that this one stuck with him with the roller coaster, so maybe I'm in the minority. But I thought that
Oh, yep, I
the,
say.
the second one was more impactful. I thought that car crash was very realistic, whereas this seems a little farcical in a way.
It was a bit CGI laden as
Yeah,
well. It was a bit sort of 2000s CGI, which didn't
yeah.
help. But I just thought it was a better story overall
I
and a
do
better
like the photo.
continuation.
I do like the photograph angle. I thought that was a fun
Mhm.
spin that added a lot of value to it. Yeah, yeah. It's close. I'm enjoying all three, so it's close. I think I would pick two over three, but this was right there. Yeah,
Where two got me is just like I said, it got too meta and too tenuous with the links and tried to over explain itself. That's where it could have been a brilliant movie, but then that sort of halfway through point that just everybody's linked to everybody, that just took me right out of it. At
I
least if this had it done the same thing, I'd have been out, you know, when I just think, oh, what the hell is this going to just look
yeah,
stupid
yeah.
now? Where they forgot all that, at least went, okay, that's not going to work for another three movies stuff, right? Okay, we'll bin all that
Right, right.
and go
I
back to
can see.
basics almost.
Yeah, I personally I liked the connections, but it definitely changes what I think is happening behind the scenes, which we'll get to later on. But
Mm-hmm.
I can see your point on that. Yeah, it gives it
Because
a fresh take. Yeah,
yeah, because even this, we're back to this super dramatic music and like the intro scene of the first movie,
yeah,
like all the way up where I'm like, right, okay, this is where you got it right with number two, and now you're back to where you got it wrong with number one,
yeah.
and it's
I thought this got into the action a little bit quicker than the first one. I thought the first one, there was a lot of wasted time getting to the
mhm.
airport and everything going on in the airport. It was a long build up before the action took place. I thought this one, they got to the action a lot sooner, but I see what you're saying with the music and everything.
I
Yeah.
think there's been the third one in the franchise. They know what they're doing now.
Mm,
People, Final Destination, people know what it is, so you're not building up to explain the characters, right? You know what I mean? You just know they're a bunch of teens. This event's going to happen,
right,
and the
right.
rest of them's trying to deal with it. So may as well get the event over quickly,
Yeah, exactly.
which is fair enough. You know, kind of get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is so dated as well. It's such a product of his time. Like digital cameras. You remember those?
I do. I do. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought the photograph angle was like a really fun, you know, element that they added to it. Outside of Back to the Future, I think it's the best use of photograph in a movie.
Hmm.
Remember where the people used to fade in the Back
Yeah,
to the
because
Future movie?
the feature was changed, and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I thought that was a cool approach, and it got me like looking at the photographs and trying to guess before the character said what they thought was happening. You know,
yeah,
and
and
I thought,
that's the fun part of this. It's the okay, what's going to happen? We know they're going to die. They know it's numbers, but it's the sort of mystery solving, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. But it's like, how do you, avoid becoming repetitive? I think the two things that they have to do, and they hit on both of them, is they have to find a little bit of a different angle as to how they predict what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the wind blowing and a vision every time, that gets repetitive. So this time it was trying to interpret the photographs. I thought that was great. I thought the other thing too that this movie did well is that they avoided like the repetition in the way that the characters died. They've done a great job in these three movies because it's been like over 40, 50 deaths, I would think, combined.
Yeah, and each one's been inventive.
One's been inventive.
Yeah, and that's the sort of stuff, this is a popcorn flick at the end of the day. It's not a deep philosophical piece of, film art. We know what we're into. But what gets me, what's funny looking back at this is there's an effort being made to keep people entertained where there's no effort being made at all today. Like zero effort from the mainstream Hollywood production machine. There's no effort. They don't care about entertaining. They've just thrown that in the bin and decided, we're getting on a soapbox and here's what we're doing. It's like, what the hell?
And I feel like, every situation is different, but I feel like in general, I don't even think it's the director's fault. I feel like modern day directors, I feel like if you went to a studio and you said, this is my angle, it's just going to be a fun, action horror movie. I think the first question that the studio asks is, well, what's your angle? What's the message? And if you don't have one, they're not going to greenlight it.
Well, the same directors aren't hired today, they're cast. I mean, they're almost like an actor themselves, and the things are already made by committee.
Right.
So they've really, I've kept, obviously with the mainstream stuff, a lot of this comes out. Luckily, touch wood, it hasn't fully impacted on horror. Horror's just too big. Won't even, I mean, they could make 100 movies in a row of all political messaging, and it won't make a dent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the size of the scope. I think I was saying on Sunday to Cameron that I could just pick a date and go, right, no more new movies from here onwards, and I could still spend 10 lifetimes trying to catch up with everything that's been made ever, and that's stuff that people know about, never mind all the like weird kooky indie stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just, horror is far too big. It can go along with trends and sways, but it's just far too large a genre that it can't be derailed like sci-fi or fantasy or action. They get one bad run and that whole genre disappears.
Why do you think that is, that there seems to be more horror movies compared to other genres?
It's just such a wide range, and it's not like, this isn't even a slasher. I mean, people would probably mistakenly say it's a slasher movie, but it's not. It's supernatural,
Supernatural horror, yeah.
There's so many different genres. You can watch horror all the time and see a different movie. You can watch horror, comedy horror, supernatural, psychological, occult. God, what I mean? There's so many flipping body horror is another one. There's so many. You can't keep even track of the subgenres.
Yeah. I also think psychologically, fear might be the strongest emotion in humanity.
Oh yeah, that's why the first stories that are told from we crawled out of the caves around the campfire, when we huddled around the campfire for warmth, were horror stories.
Yeah.
We did a whole discussion on the morality of horror and the purpose of horror stories, and that was always it, to keep people in check.
Yeah.
Look at every horror story. Don't go off the beaten path. Why? Because the path's been checked and safe. You don't know what's in the woods.
Right.
Don't open the book written in human flesh, bound, written in blood, bound in human flesh. You don't do things like that. You don't go and desecrate the temple because you don't know what you're going to kick off.
That one seems pretty self-intuitive. Don't open the book made of human skin.
Yeah, but there's a lot of dum-dums out there. If you are going to read, don't read out loud.
Yeah.
Zip.
I said the words.
Yeah, that's it's things like that. Some will get more, but there's always been a practical application.
Yeah.
One of the classics, Hansel and Gretel, it deals with jealousy and family loyalty and, using your intuition to find your way back and always having a path back home. and
Right.
being tempted and greed. That's the thing about the horror genre. It's deeper than a lot of people realize, give it credit for.
Yeah.
And there's this thumbing down. Funny enough, I always equate snobbery to stupidity. So people thumb their noses down at horror movies. Oh, you watch that stuff? Ew. And the things they watch and produce are in fact, they're brain dead sort of, nonsense.
Right.
And look at the state of movie making. That's why there's so many horror movies coming out over this next 2 years, because everything else is done.
Yeah.
And then the strike and everything else. So how do we make movies cheaply, quickly? Oh, horror directors have been doing that ever since the create, because that's the driving force behind them. So, right, we're having to rely on horror. Look at Longlegs that's come out this week. It has smashed the box office. 22 million on like flipping 25 million. Like this, it made like 22 million or something this first day.
Yeah.
And it was a non-budget movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no stars in it either, which is impressive.
Well, Nick Cage, but he's
well in the Final Destination 3. I'm saying there's no
and
stars.
This Final Destination. Yeah, but this. But I mean, like just an example of horror movie. That there's the movie is absolutely everybody's talking about it as a horror movie.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about any other movies come out apart from the last time was Barbie and Oppenheimer. That that strange phenomenon.
Right.
Of the two movies that have no business, like, why would you go to watch one and the other afterwards? Are so completely different, but that became a thing. Apart from that, nobody's talking about mainstream movies with excitement.
I have a theory about how Barbie and Oppenheimer go together. Even my theories aren't that crazy.
Yeah, it was just a phenomenon of, and that's, you can't replicate that. That was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
But nobody's excited about other genres of movies.
Yeah, it's true. Even movies that you think would be like a smash hit, like If seemed like the perfect movie that 5-10 years ago would have made like 600-700 million. I mean, it had like huge names, Ryan Reynolds and Steve Carell, and directed by John Krasinski. It's a family movie, like seeming like a Disney movie type movie.
Mm-hmm.
And even that struggled to make back what it costs. So yeah, you're right. Horror movies are the only ones that seem to be generating a profit right now.
And excitement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just, it's good to, as a horror fan, you're just like, me. But yeah, this is cool. Of course, we'll get the annoying teenagers in this.
Yes.
And everyone's over the top. But one thing I had a wee bit of a problem with that I was just sort of brushed off was the upskirting. Like, that's not nice.
Yeah. Although I don't think that would happen today, because
no, you'd be in jail. God's sake, that's class of sexual assault, and actually rightly so.
Well, absolutely, but I mean, like, kids don't even need to do that. Have you seen what some of the young girls
there's people
wear?
volunteering. You know what I mean? There's go on the internet and you get.
That's what I was going to say. You just go on OnlyFans, and like, there's no reason to do any of that because of what these kids wear nowadays. It's crazy.
Is that not pricey? Like, do you pay to each model or something? Is it something weird that you don't like subscribe to the platform, but you subscribe to each model? So if you like subscribe to 5 models, it's like 5 different subscriptions. Like, it's a massive, stupidly money making machine.
Yeah. But what I mean, like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you don't have those situations where you hear about people like with the peephole in the bathroom and like stuff like that anymore, because like the things that are available online to these kids is pretty scary. It's like way more
this would be considered tame, but to me it's still a violation.
Absolutely, it's a violation.
Without permission, piss off. The end of the day. It's people should be able to, if you're in public, you should be able to just go about your business quietly and peacefully.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
But it just shows as well that sort of attitudes can change for the good as well as the bad. But also, they're not celebrating this either. They're showing the guy to be a dick.
Yeah, but you make a good point, because what was like a slap on the wrist back then is now considered, and rightly so, to be a bigger offense. So you're right how attitudes change, and this is definitely more so that even in the digital camera, this is dating it because of the reaction that everyone has. Everyone's like, "Oh, stop it," as opposed to
Yeah.
like, "Dude, that's not,"
Yeah,
someone call the
that's
cops on
fucking
this.
wrong. What are you doing?
Yeah,
You'd been called a weirdo. If you had a freaked out of that, you'd been called a weirdo.
yeah, yeah.
Oh dear, that's not am I falling out of my alt-right istophobe character now? Am I sounding progressive? Better watch yourself. The other burning torches and pitchforks will be coming at me. You just can't win, can you? You just can't win.
No,
How dare you have a nuanced thought in the world?
you're confusing the algorithms.
Oh dear. That is my purpose in life, just to confuse the algorithms, just to make people go, the fuck is he about?
That'd be awesome.
But it's the whole scene is like the only person you're meant to be rooting for in this is Wendy, yet she's not even that likable.
She's not. Although I have to say, the protagonists in all three movies have generally been, I thought, given good performances, and been,
I'm not questioning.
yeah,
I mean, if you give a good performance as an unlikable person, you're giving a good performance.
yeah.
That's not the, you know what I mean? These aren't, I don't think I've said about any three of these movies, have I? That they're just wooden planks down in performances.
No, and I agree with you. I think they've been good choices, and maybe it's because we're reviewing Sharknado that it's more noticeable.
Oh,
But
well, this is like this is like 3 tiers above.
yeah, but I've really enjoyed the protagonists in all three, including Wendy.
Yeah, but I just get the feeling that you're not meant to be 100% on board with them.
See, I found her likable. What aspect of her did you take issue
I think it's that snarkiness. I don't, there's a bit of a snark there, and it's been the same with the other two protagonists as well. There's a wee bit of a snark to them, and I just find that unappealing. But then again, that's been dialed up now to like complete, like unlikable. And maybe I'm just hyper aware of this was the beginning of that girl boss character, that was sort of bubbling onto the surface, which is, I just find unappealing. I don't know, just didn't find her. Like the weird thing with the charm bracelet, I know it was a plot device, but the way that became an issue, like why was she grabbing it and nicking it off her sister and like then telling her sister to piss off and stuff, basically, in the same sentence.
Okay, I can see that.
I just find that a bit, what are you about?
Yeah, I can see that. I think for me, the fact that she was so genuinely afraid the whole movie, like whenever I see like a character like that's vulnerable and afraid and isn't like talking back to death, or like even Alex in the first one was like yelling at death towards the end of the movie, whereas like she was genuinely afraid and wasn't like antagonistic to it. I really liked that aspect to her, and I found myself connecting with her because she really was in an impossible situation and did the best she could. So yeah, for me she was more likable.
Just
but
some sort of aspects. And then when she was talking to God, who do you call him? The one that wasn't her boyfriend, but she said, "Oh, we wouldn't even like each other or be speaking," at the funeral and stuff. That side of her, I didn't appreciate. I'm like, where's this coming from?
You're right. Yeah, that's true.
He wasn't even trying. He was just being nice.
Yeah.
And that hostility just came out of nowhere.
I can see your point. I think I forgave it because she had just been through that traumatic, accident where her boyfriend died, and I was willing to give her a little bit of slack, but I could see your point. There was no reason for her to be anything but nice to him. He was being nice to her. Yeah, I could see that.
He had been through the same thing.
Yeah, he had been through the same thing. That's a good
lost
point.
His girlfriend. In fact, what boyfriend doesn't sit with their girlfriend? Like that was a weird thing as well. Just a strange choice of my girlfriend's freaking out, but I want to sit in the front. Yeah, you go sit with her, and then this weird, I was like, who the hell does that? That doesn't even make sense.
The only thing I can think is they were trying to hint at the fact that they were kind of with the wrong partners. Like you feel like if you had looked at this group of 4 6 months later, that they would have switched partners, and she would have been with the other guy, and yeah, I just feel like they weren't really with the right people, and they were trying to hint at that.
Jason, yeah, Jason was the one that like he went and sat with the other one and didn't sit with Wendy, and you're like, that wouldn't even be I don't know, that wouldn't even cross my mind.
Yeah.
All right, guess we're sitting in the back end,
Yeah, that was weird. I think you allude to like my only, minor gripe about the series so far. And I get that it's an intentional choice that the director has portrayed characters that are one-dimensional and almost disposable, because it's supposed to be a fun movie. You're not supposed to get too attached to these people. Like when they get killed, it's supposed to be, funny. You're not supposed to be like overly sad about it. So I understand that that's what they're going for, which is totally fine.
Oh yeah, and I think that's why he's deliberately, like, even Wendy, you're not meant to be fully on board, because at the end she's doomed like everybody else.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, that makes sense. The actors are playing their roles to a T.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's not. I don't know if it's a complaint. It's just an observation, I think.
Well, for me though, I'm always tempted at the end of these movies. Like it was fun. It was a fun ride, just like the roller coaster. Although less disastrous than this roller coaster, but it's a fun ride. These movies. I just feel like how different and how much better would this movie have been had these characters been three-dimensional? Had you actually like cared about them? And then your heart is wrenched each time there's a death. Like it would be a completely different style movie. I just not necessarily better, just for me, I think that would be a really cool approach to take. And maybe they do that with one of these next two Final Destination movies. But up till now, they've really focused on it's fun, it's light, you're not supposed to worry about these people and just, laugh at the deaths, which is,
I think this was a turning point of people were getting tired of the general slasher and they were trying to make it a bit more thoughtful. And this is part of the process. The people were yearning for a more thoughtful movie. So rather than just having the killer in the mask with the weapon going through everybody, they're like, okay, how do we make something a bit more to engage people's brains? And then, but at the same time, we don't want to freak people out, because it is for the normie audience.
Yeah.
Like
It's a pop.
Final Destination movies are for like a summer popcorn flick.
I was just gonna say a popcorn flick or a date night movie. Yeah. And that's fine. I'd be interesting because it's such a cool premise. It'd be fun to see this done in a different style. But it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of what it is. Yeah.
I think, like I said, I think it's more an observation rather than a criticism of, you see the setup. Like the slapstick, you see the plank. You can see the setup here of the characters are over the top because you're not meant to invest in them.
Exactly.
Even the main protagonist, Wendy, you don't 100% invest in her either. She has enough of bit of a snark there, and the other two did as well, that you're not like 100% on board with her. So you're not, if she gets wiped out, you're not really going to go, oh, what a shame, because even the way she acted, you could kind of tell there's a wee bit of tension there between the couples.
Yeah.
They were reaching the end of high school, they wanted to move on from each other and go into the bigger world, so to speak.
Right.
And then her at the funeral, and there's another, her with her sister, kind of makes you go, okay, right, yeah, I'm not going to be gutted if you meet your end, sort of thing. And more of a clever ploy.
Yeah.
It's, it's not I don't think it's not a criticism of it. It's just something I've noticed that's what they're
it's a style choice, and they've been consistent with it throughout the three movies, which you give them credit. And it's obviously the formula is working. The box office numbers and the fact that we're reviewing it,
and still able to enjoy it,
and still able to enjoy it 18 years later. It's successful. Yeah.
Flip's sake.
Yeah.
I'm old. I'm so old.
Tell me about it.
That was only shit, right?
Yeah. That was 7 chins ago for me.
Is it like the rings in the tree? You count your chins?
Yes.
Got it.
That's how they'll tell my age after my death. They'll open me up. 17 rings.
Yeah. But I have to say, like, there's nothing like the reassuring splat. Like, you're all set up of, okay, right, yeah. The roller coaster scene was over the top and ridiculous, but was still fun.
It was fun. It wasn't just that it went off the track and just, instant splat. Like they dragged it out for a while. It was all kinds of different ways people fell off or got decapitated or different things like that. The one part that I thought was the funniest, though, was when the roller coaster was upside down for a moment and people were hanging on for their life. And, 5 seconds later, they dropped. Now, I'm no fitness expert. I know you think of me as a fitness expert, but I think if it was my life on the line, I could hold on for more
but
than
you
a
would
few
also
seconds.
hook your arm in. You wouldn't be like this. You'd be like this.
Yeah. But I'm not saying I could hang on for, minutes or hours, but 5 seconds. These are teenagers in decent shape. They dropped off. It's pretty quick. But it was just fun. It wasn't as impactful to me as the car crash, the logger scene in the second one, but it was still like a fun.
I think that's what set up this entire franchise. This entire franchise is off the back of that highway scene in the second one.
It definitely raised the bar, right?
Yeah, that was like, even in normal circles, that is memed today. That is still impactful. It's in the cultural zeitgeist. Even people who may not even have seen the movie know about that scene.
Yeah, because in the first one, the plane crash was pretty quick. Like you see the flame, starting to
spread. And it was all very almost CGI type, But the second one, that highway scene is just, it's one of them moments in movies.
Yeah.
That you'll never forget. And you're not gonna. That's all I would say. People always try to raise the bar, but you get so far and you have to come back down again.
Yeah.
I have a funny feeling this movie's doing that. It's like, okay, I've raised the bar up there. I can't realistically go any further, or that's where it gets silly and ridiculous. And it's people that keep trying to push the bar up to a certain point without bringing it back down to raise up again. It's like talking about weights. People always try to lift the weights up, but they don't drop down and do more reps, then increase the weight. It's one of them type of things.
Yeah,
the ones that burn out and break themselves and into themselves are always trying to increase. And they don't bring it back down to give the muscles time to recover to go back up again. I think it's the same with any creative endeavor. If you're always trying to one up yourself, you reach burnout potential and you lose what you're actually doing. So this, we're bringing it back down.
Yeah, I think a great example of that is the Marvel movies. I know you're not a fan, and there's a lot of reasons why, but I think they started to tell stories in the beginning where it was like Iron Man against this one, particular, guy in the Middle East, or actually the guy who was
Warmonger, wasn't it? Was the first
Warmonger? Yeah. But it was, it was like kind of like a smaller, storyline. Then before you know it, it's like now they have to save the entire planet, and now they have to save the entire universe, and now they have to save the entire multiverse. Like they kept raising it. And like for me, my favorite stories were like in Marvel were like Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood, superhero. He just solves like the small criminals. Like to me, those are the most, impactful ones. And I think you're right. I think this, is trying not to, raise the bar too much where now it has to, it just can't keep up, where it's just exponentially getting bigger and bigger. It does have to try to bring it back down to a more personal, smaller story. Yeah.
And this was still inventive. Like I said, I think there's a reason why it's my favorite one, because we've already got the backstory of the first two. We know what's going to happen. They get that bit out of the way quickly, okay, right, that's the event, and then let's concentrate their effort on the storytelling.
Right.
Which was cool. It's and once again, it's them just trying to figure out what the hell happened.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then it was a 6-year time gap as well between the first events and this one.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, because up until now, Death was operating, in my opinion, just to restore the balance, because there was that maybe with a sadistic twist a bit, because it was obviously some of these deaths in the first two movies were pretty pretty intense, pretty painful. But I felt like up until now, it was still just trying to restore an imbalance that was created by Alex subverting Death's plans in the original movie. And this one has no connection to that. Like you said, it's 6 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to think, why is Death targeting this group of kids that have no connection to why he was upset after the first two movies? And I have a theory as to why that is.
Is this going to take us to bad places again?
Yes, it is.
Oh, let's do it. It's a theory. It's a Chris. It's a theory. Chrissy Chris. Chrissy Chris.
Chris's crazy theory.
I'm glad some of us at least think on this channel. It saves me having to do it.
Perhaps overthinking. This is a bit of a long one, so if you're watching at home, get a drink, get comfortable, relax. But here's my theory with this. So, starting with slide 1. Yes, thank you. So, there is total balance in nature. In physics, it's Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In spirituality, it's yin and yang, right? In the real world, the practical world, hot and cold. And then, of course, on a universal level, it's matter and antimatter, balance. So up until now, it seemed to me that Death was merely trying to right an imbalance, starting from when Alex subverted his plans on Flight 180. All of the victims of the first two movies were related, a point that you were not very happy about in the second movie because it seemed a little bit forced, those connections. But
yeah, you could feel the crowbar sort of.
Exactly. But, taking it as the story that we're given, there were connections. Now, this is different. So I was trying to think of why Death is so upset still if, these kids had nothing to do with it and it's 6 years later. So then I started to think about the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect for you kids at home is a theory that the tiniest changes can impact the greater world around you. A butterfly flaps its wings and causes a tornado sometime down the road in another part of the world. I think what happened is that after the first movie, there was all these changes that resulted. Even though a lot of the people from the first movie ended up dying later on, every time they interacted at a store, bought coffee,
they just spoke to the next person straight after it. It wasn't meant to happen.
Exactly. It changed the timeline in imperceptible ways because they weren't supposed to be there to interact with those people. So if you talk to a coffee store owner and now he's 2 minutes later from having talked to you, now he avoids a car accident that he would have been in. It just keeps spiraling. So I think that things have gotten out of hand for Death. Death is a part of nature and it has to abide within its constructs. Death, as we've seen in this movie, it can't go back in time and change things, or it would have changed it to get rid of Alex before he had a chance to mess things up. Also, Clear survived in the mental institution for over a year. She only died when she came out of the mental institution. So Death couldn't get to her there. So Death has limits, okay? So that's important for my next part of my theory. Now, this part is not crazy. I think it's pretty obvious that Tony Todd playing the character of Bloodworth is a version of Death personified. I think we've seen that in the first two movies. He
only appears in voiceovers in this one.
Yes.
And so when they're going to the roller coaster, he's the voiceover in the speaker, as they're guiding people along, and then in the tube, he's a
subway,
conductor.
Right? Exactly. And in both cases, he was stalking them, these teenagers, right before a lot of them were killed. So I think he's definitely Death personified, and there's a reason why he was doing the voiceover. It wasn't just to give him a speaking role; it's because he is Death. And why is he so angry? And if I could zoom in a bit on this one, this was the ride that the kids died on. It's no coincidence that the ride, looks like this. And I think even the name of the ride is called the Devil's Flight. Mm-hmm. So there's a reason for this. This is not a coincidence. Death is vindictive and he's angry. But why is he angry at these kids? So if he's just
I was angry at these kids at the start of the movie.
Well, I mean, he's certainly.
I think we'll just establish that was the whole point. That you're meant to get angry at the kids so that you can watch them.
Well, maybe you're
Absolutely
involved.
annihilated.
Well, maybe you're an accomplice. No, but but he is angry at these kids, and I do understand why. But why specifically, if they have nothing to do with the whole reason he's mad that his plan was subverted and that the butterfly effect is out of control? Why is he targeting teenagers in general? So my theory is one, that teenagers, first of all, were the same age of Alex, the person who started this whole mess. Alex is already dead, so he can't do anything more about that. So just by virtue of them being the same age as Alex, they're a good target. Also, what's one thing about teenagers that we know is that they tend to be invincible in their mind and very brazen. And I picked the word brazen for a reason. But if you notice some of the deaths coming up, where when characters like this are basically flaunting that they just survived right before the moment of their death, and there's a reason why death is picking people like this, and also this character, same thing. Right before he dies, he avoids the fireworks and he says, "I'm not going to die." He's flaunting it, and death hates when teenagers are brazen like this. So I think he is specifically, targeting teenagers for this reason, because of their brazenness. Now, I picked the word brazenness because brazenness is defined as disrespectful boldness, a brazen disregard for the rules. The death, as personified by Tony Todd and Bloodworth, is restricted by rules. So when these teenagers flaunt the rules, that's why he targets them. So that is my theory. Death is vindictively targeting teenagers for their brazenness.
I like Death already. He's not wrong.
and maybe he's got a point.
There we go.
It's a theory. It's a Chris. It's a theory. Chrissy Chris. Chrissy Chris. Chris's crazy theory.
I think you've just explained why the slasher genre has been so popular for decades. Teenagers are annoying. Yeah. Let's watch them get chopped up.
I guess I could have saved the last 15 minutes of everyone's time and just said teenagers are annoying.
That's it.
That's true. But this was way more fun for me.
What do you call him? That friggin' meathead. Not Frankie. Frankie was a pervert.
At the gym.
Whoa! Oh, that's why I don't go to the gym. That's why I never go near. Even when I did go to the gym, I stayed away from the free weights because I just can't be around those sort of people.
Was it Frankie? No, Frankie was the other one.
Frankie's the pervert with a camera.
Yeah. I mean,
Lewis.
Lewis. That's right. Lewis. Yeah. So over the top, that whole scene in the.
But once again, it's by design.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. You're meant to not like these because that's the whole setup. It's the gag. This is technically horror comedy.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's a dark comedy.
Yeah. Yes.
So the kids are meant to be over the top. They're meant to be that, have you ever been on you've went to the mall or you've been at a bus stop and a bunch of teenagers and you just want the world to open up and suck them down into the depths. Like a bunch of them, you're just like, oh my God, why now?
Yeah. This movie's for you. Exactly.
There's actually a theory behind that, or scientific, apparently, because the puberty switches on the psychopathic part of their brains because of hormones. And that's why a teenager goes from a likable kid to like this annoying, horrible thing. For a couple of years, just apparently it's a rewiring of the brain with the hormones. Just makes them like that.
That makes sense. I can see that. They're not used to those. They have to adapt to it, and also they haven't been beaten down by all the disappointments in life.
Oh, yeah, that's
for the most part. Yeah, some kids experience it earlier, sadly, but yeah.
Look at the adult babies running about now. I've experienced nothing.
Yeah.
Like, reality's going to hit them hard. Like, and reality always comes. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There's no escaping reality. It comes, and it comes hard. Look at Hollywood. Why are there so many hotel incidents with Hollywood stars? Because at some point reality hits them. We tap on the shoulder, hi, and then they just lose it. And then next thing you know, they're flipping caught with a Columbia marching powder mid strangle wank, you know, getting wheeled out in the gurney.
But do you agree? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that Bloodworth is death at this point.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he knew too much. He was a mortician that seemed to enjoy his job way too much.
You don't look that scene in part 2 where it may as well have been Frankenstein's castle.
Yeah, exactly.
With the smoke machine and the bloody lights and everything. You know what I mean? It couldn't have been more telegraphed. And plus, you do not hire Tony Todd to be a bit actor.
Yeah.
You hire someone like Tony Todd because there's a reason for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's the only thing I could think of, that because there was no connection, which I know you liked, that there was no connection between the first two movies and this one. So there really was no reason for him to be that upset, except for the fact that, just like you said, teenagers are annoying.
Yep. You know what? That's enough reason. That's it. I'm sold.
All right.
One thing that did make me laugh during this is we started getting some of the 180 references.
And
I'm just like,
isn't it?
Aha! I heard a theory about this.
It's addictive, isn't it? I found myself looking at the background the whole movie and probably enjoying the movie less than I would have, because I'm like looking for like signs of it. I caught a couple of them. Did you catch any?
Well, when they were talking at the funeral about Flight 180, and then there was you saw the road sign 180.
Yeah.
And then at the end in the tube, 180. And I'm just like,
yes, that was the big one, was the train. Yeah. But also the song Turn Around was used throughout the movie. Turn Around is a 180.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my god, that's so
good.
Did Chris skip ahead? Is he cheating?
No, I just do enough of these. It's quantity over quality. One of them is going to be on.
One's going to land right in his bullseye. You throw enough darts.
You ever see that movie with Mel Gibson where he's I think it's called Conspiracy Theory, where he's got like a million. He's like a crazy guy who's got like a million conspiracies, and he has like his own like.
Oh yes, see, and he watches. He was basically an agent who was sent to protect your girl, the protagonist in it.
Maybe I haven't seen it in a while, but I do remember.
He's like, oh, and you get on your running machine and you do this, and that absolutely freaked her out because he was watching.
You might be right. I just remember the part where he puts out like a newsletter. Like, this is back in the day before like the internet. So he has like a newsletter where he puts like his all his conspiracy theories, and somehow accidentally he stumbled on one that actually would implicate like people that are in political power. So they like kidnap him and like try to drug him, you know. And the thing is, he doesn't even know which one is right because he has like a million terrible conspiracy theories. So that's me. I am Mel Gibson. I probably
when we both get black bagged by Universal, you know me.
I won't know which one.
It's funny enough, when they come in, they'll have the Universal logo on their. I think we've made enemies there.
Is it Bert Grabertoid? Is that it? Like,
it could be. It could happen. Just that one theory too many. Boom. It just made me smile seeing those and just thinking, I'm like, yeah. Let's do it.
I'm 1 for 20.
I don't know which was my favorite. Was it Frankie or Lewis was my favorite death? Because they were both obnoxious.
Yeah, to me, I feel like Frankie was terrible, but you didn't know it was Frankie in that car until after they got closer to it, right?
Well, they were stuck in the back, and then he wouldn't move, and he flipped them the bird in the drive-through, and then sure enough, the other, you know, of course, you see the guy running after the truck, and of course, it just happens to turn, and you're just like, this is pure slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
Like this, Charlie Chaplin could have done this sort of stuff. just it's done in the horror vein. You know what I mean? It's so good. What do you call? I couldn't find the name of them. What do you call those things that people build? They're like little models. You know, why like something will hit the car and the car will spin down the track and then it'll hit the marble and the marble will roll around.
Oh my gosh!
Is there a term for those?
Yes. Oh,
because that's just what this movie feels like. They just feel like one of those sort of devices or the dominoes. You know, somebody set up the whole domino thing, and
I think it's like a Rube Goldberg machine. Goldberg, yeah, that's what it is. Rube Goldberg machine. It's like the beginning of Back to the Future, where Christopher Lloyd's character has like the thing that connect, makes the pancakes and knocks over the egg.
Yes,
the egg goes. It's Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah, that's what this franchise feels like. They've taken that concept and they've just put it into a horror movie, and they've thrown a lot of dark comedy into it. And yeah, I'm on board. You know, of course I'm going to nitpick and pull the stuff because that's what I do.
Yeah, it's
but
fun.
At the same time, the fact that I'm not going, oh fuck my life, watching these movies, and I'm actually intrigued that I'm giggling, because it's being telegraphed to me. Frankie is an absolute cretin, and the upskirt scene at the start is it's sort of telegraphed the fact that he is not going to have a good death. You know what I mean? Nobody's saying what he's doing is a good thing,
right.
The universe is sort of paying him back, and sure enough, he's acting like a dick in the drive-through because that's just his character, and sure enough, that he's the one that gets wiped out. But I noticed both of him and Lewis, there's no real brain matter coming out. Both their skulls get exposed. Maybe that's a bit of a message of empty vessels and all that sort of business.
I think of the two, I like Lewis's death more because he just avoids these swords, falling and decapitating him. And the first thing he does is laugh and then start to do another. It's like, is that the reaction? Have you just narrowly avoided death to do like a few more curls and laugh? It's so
not even check the machine. Like
no, yeah. It's so ridiculous, but funny. Not funny.
Yeah. No, it's the likes of Lewis and all them guys is why I don't go near the free weights. Because I just can't. My brain can't deal with that. And plus, with the free weights, you're expected to spot each other and slap each other in the arse and all that business. And I'm like, nah, leave me alone. If I'm on a machine, I just want to do my time and get the hell out. I actually had to leave a gym years ago because everybody knew me in it. So people just come and start talking to me. I was just dragging me up the wall. Because it's like, leave me alone. I'm trying to friggin' zone out. I do not like doing this shit.
Yeah.
I'm not having fun here. I'm doing it because of the job at the time, you know what I mean? I'm doing it because I have to, because I have friggin' fitness standards to maintain. Leave me alone, like, get this done. Get back to eating pies.
Good for you. The only gym I know is the Jim who works down at the bakery. I know him very well.
Yeah, that's my fan. I've embraced the donut.
But these guys definitely like being in the gym, that's for sure.
Oh,
really
like I was waiting to put some leather chaps on. They're really getting too friendly.
I was gonna say,
start oiling each other up. They were having way too fun a time.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to say that first, but it's true. Yeah, it was almost a very different movie.
Yeah. There's the only character I felt sorry for in this is Erin. She seemed to be the only harmless character that didn't actually do anything.
Yeah, she's almost like guilty by association because she was with was it Ian?
Ian, yeah, and that guy, like even in the funeral, he's attention seeking. He's your typical goth kid.
Yeah,
just an attention seeking nobody. Oh, I dress in black spooky stuff, just like every 20 of my mates. I'm so rebellious, but we all look the same and we're all conformist. And we almost listen to the same 3 albums, and we almost watch the same 5 movies, and we almost say the same words, and
Yeah, and I didn't like when he was like talking up like during the funeral. Like, can you imagine like the parents are sitting there listening to the the priest, and they're trying to find some sort of solace.
Fuck it. I think that's why it doesn't happen over here, because it got sparked out. You Americans seem to let that shit happen a lot. Just people going off. If that happened in like my mom's funeral there in March, if that had happened there, that person would have been spitting teeth.
Yeah.
because that would have been it. End of story. Fucking both, I've seen it in funerals where somebody's tried to be over dramatic and make it all about them, and sure enough, flipping backhander, or a punch has happened. Fuck up. That was it. End of story. That is not tolerated in my culture.
I've never been to a funeral where anyone's, done anything like that. I think the worst example is a relative's funeral where they started to bring up, financial, matters. And
that's a fight. That's how you start a fight. Anyone brings that up during the wake and the funeral and our culture, that is that's where it's all about positivity. It's about remembering the person. And even after, the funeral, there's the post-funeral tea. And that day, up until the end of that day, you talk about nothing financial or anything else.
Absolutely.
That's a no-go. That's if you want to start a fight. That's what you do. You bring that shit up, or you start making it about you.
I mean, I'd like to think that's the way it is.
See it. My granddad died. My aunt was outside posing for photographs outside the funeral home. If it wasn't for the fact that I was at the front, I didn't know what happened.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know she was there because I never even stayed, because it was 20, what was it, about 20, 25 minutes later where I went to the cemetery where I'd found out this happened. If I'd known I was there and I was on strike, she was getting her fucking head put through a wall.
Yeah.
Because it was just so disrespectful.
That's the word. That's the word, yeah.
That's and there's a reason people didn't tell me.
Yeah.
Because they knew exactly how it was going to go. Because fucking, you just don't do that shit.
100%. So I like to think it's that way over here too. I unfortunately haven't been to enough to know if that's common or not. But it's that's so disrespectful. So the sad thing about it is that his death was relatively painless. It was funny because he was saying, "I can't be killed," and then the sign falls on him. But it was pretty quick compared to poor Erin, who did not speak up at the funeral, who was not disrespectful. Yeah. And her death might be one of the painful in the entire franchise so far.
Flip a nail gun like that?
She and it wasn't all the nails at once. It was one at a time.
Yeah.
And some of them punctured her eye. Some of them punctured it looked like her
through
lung
the cheek and
through the cheek. Oh, that looked incredibly painful.
She was still alive, and she was still
slow. Bitter. Yeah.
Slow. That was.
Yeah.
That should have been either a Lewis or a Frankie. That should have been Frankie's death.
Right. Which tells me that death, like life, is not fair. And he's definitely not killing people with the same,
veracity of their behavior in life. They're not getting the death they deserve.
Thank you. Exactly. But death is not fair. Life is not fair, But that I did feel bad for Erin. You're right.
But was he toying with Ian because, he deserved to die for the pigeons alone? Pigeons are annoying, but at the same time, freaking. I used to have my back house. There was a carpet place. It was my old house. There was a industrial bit, so I was lucky enough. It was just there was an estate, but it was a row of shops at the back. It got burnt down. And nobody went and took over the building and restored it. So a bunch of pigeons always got in. I could have been well within my rights out there with the air rifle, popping them, but what's it going to achieve? So it just meant that 2 times extra a year I got my guttering cleaned, when I went and nested in it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't see the point in being even pests and being cruel. He was reveling in it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What I was hoping for is that one of the pigeons was going to have a pigeon vision of this happening and then save the other pigeons from getting killed.
Yeah, they're making that would be a good anime, sort of final pigeonation or something. Just
exactly. But I think you're right. I think Death was punishing Ian by having him have to watch Erin, his girlfriend, I guess, die so painfully the same way he was killing the pigeons. I think that was an extra. See how you like it.
And then let him think that he had a chance and snatch it away.
Yeah. I still would have liked to have seen his death be a little more painful.
Yeah, a bit more prolonged.
Yeah.
But say to me, maybe it was just maybe it wouldn't have had the emotional impact. Like I genuinely felt bad for Erin. I'm like, oh, she didn't deserve that.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
didn't need to go out like that. What'd she do?
Right. Yeah. And that was my thought: is you could have an entire movie of deaths like that, where characters like Erin or even more three-dimensional characters that you care about. Totally different movie, not nearly as much fun. It would just be an interesting spin on this. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah. Final Destination Noir or something, a darker version, off the cuff.
Yeah.
You could probably still do it. Like, there's no reason, like, we haven't got to the fifth one, but there's no reason why something like this can't go on.
Right. And maybe there are people watching this laughing at me because maybe they did it already in Final Destination 4 or 5. I don't know. I haven't seen them, but it's just interesting. Yeah. Because you definitely have a different reaction to Erin's death than you do the rest of them, for sure. Yeah.
And then obviously it turns out the final bit that Wendy finds out that it was Julie, her sister, was on the ride as well because of the charm bracelet. I think that was so clumsily inserted.
You did?
Because that's the scene. It's the same with Julie more than anything. Put me off her. Why'd she nick her bracelet? And then you realize it's just a plot device to put the bracelet in the photograph.
Right.
That was the only bit of like clumsy dialogue that's been in this. Like, I felt I was just they were struggling to find a link for Wendy to find out Julie was on the funfair ride.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, I did like the one scene they had because it seemed like the two sisters hated each other and there was no connection there. And then I was like, that's going to be weird when one of them dies and we're supposed to feel like there's a connection when they haven't seen anything. So I was happy there was that one scene where they did seem to connect, and it felt more believable to me after that scene.
It's sibling rivalry at the end of the day. It's part of the pack thing or something. Everyone's struggling for dominance and blah, blah, blah. And just you put two grown humans within close age of each other. I don't think it's as bad if there's a gap, but if they're close age, then you're going through all that stuff. Yeah, I think it's part of it.
Yeah, it was effective. And I'll tell you, after Final Destination 2, where two of the characters, Kimberly and Officer Burke, survived, I had that mindset going into that last scene that at least Wendy was going to survive, if not both Wendy and what was the boyfriend's name? Or not the boyfriend.
Oh God, I forgot his name.
Yeah, but anyway, that I thought the two of them would survive.
He's a bit of a non-character in this.
Yeah, he had an interesting story arc where he went from like annoying boyfriend that her friend was going to break up with, and he seemed like he was going to be over the top, like the character from the first movie, who was like such a jerk the whole movie. Anyway, but it did seem like his personality changed quickly, but I was okay with it because they went through a
life
traumatic
events will do that. He grew up. He grew up within moments of that, but he sort of got relegated to a plot device.
Yeah. And then he just shows up, and it seems like they had very little connection in the 6 months or the year. I forget how long it was after the events of the fireworks display. And then when they're on the train, I think it's like 6 months later, you get the impression that they haven't spoken much, which is kind of weird considering all they went through, So you're right. It was interesting that they didn't, there was no like romantic connection like you expected. It was kind of thrown aside.
Because you're sort of hinting at the two of them with the wrong partners, and they should have maybe swapped.
Yes,
and maybe that would have happened, but there was a setup there for it. But he just got relegated to like I said, a plot device.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I suppose fair enough. But we'll get to the fun fair, and what grown-arse teenagers play with sparklers?
Wow.
That was just made me go, what is this? Is the short bus pulled up or something?
Hey,
Like,
I
who's
like a
that
good
special?
sparkler. I like a good sparkler myself. But I did notice that
And a flipping margarita or something. Fair enough, I can get that. But
So this is how weird my brain is. When I see something that stands out like that, my brain tries to like, make reason of it. It's like when with the face on Mars, people saw like that rock formation and just assumed it was a monkey face. Do you remember that in the 90s? There was this picture on the internet where it was just like a rock formation, and people, oh my gosh, it looks like the monkeys. So someone carved it on Mars, millions of years ago. And it's like, no, it's just a rock formation, but your brain tries to make patterns out of things. That's a known scientific fact. So my brain does that. So when I saw the teenagers with the sparklers, I was like, you know what? They went through a traumatic series of events where their friends are dying one by one. Maybe they just wanted to remind themselves of a simpler time when they're children and they're playing with sparklers. And I'll give it to them because they're going through something traumatic right now.
all right, because I just like going, are you a bit simple?
Well, that's plan B. That's the other
It's
possibility.
like I'm just like, I know this is plot device, but like, who the hell does, even Merry and Pippin out of Lord of the Rings didn't play with sparklers. They went straight for the big guns.
That's right.
They're just like, nah, boom, we're doing this, and we're doing it right. And I get what they're sort of doing. Period pieces, not throughout American history. And yeah, the horse, not. But who the frig leaves a horse out during a fireworks display and an outdoor, like right on the grounds? Who does that? There's a lot of animal cruelty in this movie.
I was going to
which
say
I'm
that.
not on board with.
Yeah, that's almost as much as the pigeon getting shot. I mean, you know how like dogs react to fireworks. Imagine like a horse that's surrounded by giant fireworks, and he's like roped where he can't even like go hide under something. Like that's terrible. That was really mean.
There was just absolutely no need for that whatsoever. Now, I know it's a plot device, and I know actually the horse wasn't in, like, they're not real fireworks. They're sort of the sound stuff's been in the background. But still, the fact that some daft bastard would just have a horse, like, they would not bring it back, right? It's done its thing. Okay, let's get the horse out of here, into the trailer, back to the farm.
Yeah.
You would think would happen.
And there could have been a plot device to get the horse there. Maybe there's a police officer on a horse who's patrolling like far away from the fireworks, and then he sees Ian carrying a weapon from a distance, and he tries to like move the horse closer, and now the horse is there. Like it only takes like 5 seconds of screen time to make it more believable, but to just have the horse there as part of the celebration when there's going to be these big fireworks doesn't make sense, and is cruel.
That took me out of it a bit. I'm just like, what the hell?
Exactly.
Now, could the fireworks have been maybe set off prematurely with one of the sparklers, which I think is maybe going that direction, but it didn't? That could have worked. They hadn't led the horse away yet, or they were leading the horse away. Right. And all I had to do is put a bit of dialogue. Okay, let's get you out of here, Nessie, before these things go off. And then the dopey kid with the sparkler sets off a firework. Boom. It's just that easy to put. Just tying the horse up there. I'm like, you cruel bastards.
Yeah.
I hope everybody in this movie dies, sort of, every character for doing that.
Yeah, that was messed up. You're right.
But we see McKinley in just full arsehole mode.
Yeah.
And I'm going to kill you. You just like you killed Aaron. No, you're dicking about. You are not focusing, playing about with forklifts and stuff. You don't do that. Bringing arseholes. Everyone, typical goth. Everything's everybody else's fault, not mine. Right.
And you figure he had seen enough at that point to realize like it wasn't Wendy's fault. It's a weird take that he's blaming her specifically. He would have been dead if she didn't, get him off the roller coaster initially.
And then never listened. She's actually actively trying to save them, and then never listened.
Yeah.
But it's her fault. But he's a typical goth. Goths are like that. They're freaking arseholes.
Yeah, he just blames everyone.
You might notice I have a bit of a thing about goths that annoy the bag out of me.
Yeah.
They do genuinely annoy me because it's all fake. It's nothing. There's nothing genuine about them.
Right.
They're
Right.
fake, they're faux outrage at the world. They're freaking faux depression. They're faux, I mean, it's nothing genuine about them, and they're the most conformist, horrible people. So him getting a bit vindictive and then trying to mask it with grief, he's doing this. No, he's fucking enjoying it. He's playing cat and mouse, same as he enjoyed killing the pigeons. He
Yeah,
is getting a buzz out of this, and he hasn't even got the balls to admit it to himself.
it's true. It's true. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I would have liked to have seen, for all those reasons, his death be a little more pronounced. But you do see like a little section of him, like twitching after the sign falls on him, which is kind of fun.
It went to CGI. Did you notice how it flicked from CGI to practical?
Yeah.
Like you saw but the camera from above, it was just pure CGI, and then thankfully they cut it quickly to the practical effects. You're like, okay, right,
Yeah.
I'll forgive that.
Yeah. I would have liked, because they show the top down camera angle with the sign falling on him, and he looked up and realized it. I would have liked for like an Evil Dead moment, for him to say like, "Oh, fuck," something like that.
Yeah.
Something funny. We had time for one funny line, and he blew it before he got smushed.
No, well, and then like I said, all that happens, and then we'll get the 6 months later on the tube, or what do you call it? We call it the tube, the underground
Subway.
Okay.
Same thing. Yeah.
Yep. On the underground train.
Oh yeah. So like I was saying before, like I feel like because of Final Destination 2, it set this up perfectly, where I did not expect that ending, and I thought it was a great. I don't know, maybe you did because you've seen a lot more horror movies, but for me, I thought Wendy was going to survive this, so that was a fun twist that she didn't actually, because sometimes that shock value at the end of a movie, has a lot of it's very effective.
Mm-hmm.
Like a twist.
I wasn't too sure whether they were going to. Obviously, I've seen this before, so I knew how it ended. But when I remember first watching it, I didn't know whether she was going to have another premonition and maybe save everybody, or they're all going to get wiped out, or it was going to be one of them. Gotcha, and nobody got wiped out. It could have went either way at this point.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because there were actually 2 alternate endings. I try to do a little research and bring something to the table besides my 20-minute waste of time theories. So I found out there were 2 alternate endings. So one that was actually filmed, and if you go to YouTube after this or whatever, you could actually see it. There was an alternate ending filmed where she sees this all happening, and then she gets hit by the train at the end, and then it turns out it was a premonition, but not just the train, all the way back to the beginning of the movie with the coin being flipped up in the air before they got on the roller coaster. So the entire movie has been a big premonition in this version of the movie. And she catches the coin out of the air. She gets every one of her friends off the train, including her best friend who died in the beginning and her boyfriend, everyone off the train. As they're walking away, the train does crash, but they all survive. That's how the movie ended in this alternate version. And then right before the credits come up, they show like a picture of each of the main characters, and they say like what happened to them in the future. Like this one went on to Greenpeace, or this one, had a job, something like that. But in all of the images, they all survived, which was very strange. And
I wouldn't have liked that one.
No, it makes no sense with the franchise. All of them that she saved survived.
This is no way I'm talking about this trope, which is really started in this time period of meta over explaining, oh, it's all a dream. This is where people are overthinking. They're 80s and 90s, there's been a lot of sort of your popcorn flick, your movies, things have become a bit stale in the 90s. You can probably remember, movies were becoming very repetitive. This was the 2000s trying to figure out, we need to shake things up. And I think there was a case of overthinking. That's why it's a strange period of cinema. They're trying to subvert expectations. They're trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak.
Okay.
And they're maybe overthinking. Like that's why you get that bit in part 2 where they're over-explaining. They're almost trying to go, here, audience, we're doing something different. I hope you notice.
Yeah.
And they don't have the confidence. I think that's the case of just not having the confidence to go with an idea.
I think they absolutely made the right choice.
Oh yeah,
that other
definitely. That wouldn't have been a good ending.
it's very unsatisfying. I want you to see it after just to get your opinion on it, but very, very unsatisfying where they all survived and their picture is up like it's a rom-com at the end of a high school movie. Very weird. So that was one alternate ending that they actually filmed. The other one wasn't filmed, but the plan originally was, and this is according to producer Craig Perry, who, talking to Digital Spy, revealed that Final Destination 3 would have tied into the second movie if this alternate plan had panned out. On that same ill-fated subway train, or tube train, Wendy, Julie, and Kevin were going to be joined by Kimberly and Officer Burke, the two survivors of Final Destination 2. So those two survivors were also going to die in that same train crash to tie up the loose ends from Final Destination 2. They had it scripted, but they were only able to get one of the two actors to agree to the time commitment. And so the director decided and the producer decided not to do it because if they could only get one of the two,
it's not going to have the impact.
Yeah, then it makes it seem like death is not effective if it can only kill one and not the other. So they decided to like leave it open ended, and maybe in down the road, those two characters will reprise their roles. But that was the original plan. So it's just interesting. How they did.
I like this ending because I love the way that it's in. You know, I mean, without tenuous links to the other movies, apart from the reference, the Flight 180 and the highway. You know, I mean, just the fact that it's in the universe and people know about it.
Yeah.
That was enough for me. This was contained. That's why I like this. You know, each of these movies can be that with a little nudge. You know, they don't have to connect every character.
Yeah, and
they don't have to be bloody George Lucas. You know what I mean? Here's an expanded universe, but it only fits around these 4 characters. You know.
Yeah.
That's so limited. This is cool. It's its own little contained universe. Enough nudges a wink that you know it's part of the same franchise, but it's telling its own story. And the fact that every billboard on the train is relating to all the deaths, and the fact that I'm here for you now. I liked it. You know, and to me, it just tied it up nicely, and it went into that fun element of the movie, which we're over analyzing 18 years later, but it's a fun. That's the whole point of it. You're not meant to take it seriously. You're meant to laugh and giggle and be shocked. It's like a roller coaster ride. You're jumping on for the thrills and scares, not for the deep message. Just the fact that they've put a bit of thought into it in the background to make it work. And
the shock value worked for me because I did not see that twist coming where she gets hit by the train. I thought I was like, whoa, that was surprising and satisfying. The other ending would not have been satisfying.
No.
They made a lot of right choices with this. Yeah.
Even the one that didn't film wouldn't have been satisfying. It would have been we're bringing these in now. You know, it wouldn't have fitted because they never approached throughout the whole movie.
Right.
It would have felt just shoehorned in. I would have been annoyed.
The only thing I would have liked about that, though, is it does make it seem that, death can be defeated because those two characters in the second one, there's no reason why they should have survived if everyone else died. Kimberly and Officer Burke.
Yeah,
like that whole new life.
You don't know.
Yeah.
If they tie this all up, okay, so if there's absolutely no hope, everyone may as well just lie down in front of a train. If there's a bit of a hope, that's why people keep fighting. That's why, as animals, we fight against death. We hope for that chance of survival. That's what makes people do incredible things. It's that survival instinct, and that's what this explores.
That's a good point. And the fact that we don't know if they survived or didn't survive because it's 6 years later, that kind of like mystery is actually intriguing.
That's and I like the fact you could maybe watch this movie and not be aware of the other ones and not need to be.
Yeah.
You don't have to, because that's what they do wrong today. Back to your Marvel example. Look at the Marvel movies. You have to have watched 3 TV shows and 5 movies for one movie to make sense.
Yes.
You can't just watch it on its own thing. Where this, you can't. You could watch Final Destination 3 and not have watched the first 2 at all and still enjoy it. And then be intrigued to find out what happened in the first 2.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's a clever thing.
Yeah. So I would like to ask you for next one, what would you like to see in the next one?
God,
Because you said you don't remember it, right?
I don't remember. I think it's called The Final Destination. It's a strange title. Oh God, what have we not had? Something on a ferry or a cruise ship or something would be interesting.
That's cool. I like that.
Because we've done a plane, we've done a highway, we've done a fun fair.
Yeah.
Um,
Like the whole planes, trains, and automobiles.
yeah, just
Yeah.
fun trains on this.
Yeah.
So yeah, cruise ship or God, where else can we go? That's a fun thing, isn't it? Where are
Yeah.
they going to take us next?
I think anywhere where there's like large groups of people.
Yeah.
So maybe a bridge.
Sports event or a bridge.
Sports
would be
event.
a good one.
Yeah. I hope that they have Bloodworth more in it, because those few scenes were captivating in the first two.
Yeah, that's what Tony Dodd does. That's his whole bread and butter of just coming in and being captivating for short periods and then disappearing and leaving you wondering. I don't want him over explained though.
No, not over explained.
I don't want the fun element. Yeah, just little
Yeah.
snippets here and there. Like he's become, back to your Marvel references, he's become the Stan Lee in this, Bloodworth's here. He's only a voiceover this time, but he's there.
Yeah.
Keep doing that, but I do not want an answer.
Not an answer, but just like the hints.
I don't want him to say, yes, I am. Who did you think I am? I don't want him explained.
Yeah. Just enough so I can over analyze it and waste 20 minutes of everyone's time again.
Well, there you go. I guess we'll find out soon enough, eh?
Yeah.
Good thing these are already made. But there you go. That was fun. Oh God, we are back. Oh shit. Now we're in the roller coaster. We went up here. Now we've got to go back down to Sharknado 4 next.
But at least Sharknado is better than Catnado.
That's a coming. That's a coming. Yeah, that's where Needle out. Clownado's fun. I've reviewed that. That's a fun movie. That was a independent one. That was
okay. All right.
That was actually a cool movie. Check that review out. But there you go. That'll do us for now. And Chris, mate, thanks as always. Thanks for coming and trying to bring some sense to chaos and some thought. You put more thought in than I do, anyway.
Always fun, man. Thank you.
So there you go. Until next time, keep updated with the channel. Do those typey flicky things, and remember to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.